Today I'm just recording a quick video to talk to you about something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. When I went on my run this morning, I was trying to finalize my thoughts about something that's been churning in my head for the past few weeks in light of some of the recent tragic events, and also in the context of this month's value that we're focusing on, which is we speak respectfully, truthfully, and lovingly. And what I think about is the stories that we are exposed to, and in turn, the stories that we tell ourselves. And this translates into other areas of our lives. I want to start with culture. We're exposed to a lot of social media, news media, the opinions of our friends and family through social media, and it paints this picture for us. It kind of tells this overarching story of the reality of the world that we live in. And the problem with that is that's only a very narrow slice of all of the stories that are happening in our world. You know, for every one story that reaches the surface, there are thousands of other stories that go untold. And the only way that we experience those other stories is if we go looking for them, actually go out into the world, or, you know, even on your computer, if you go searching for different stories, there are other things that you can dig up that maybe wouldn't have made it to your awareness otherwise. Really what it comes down to is a choice. You can choose to believe that there is nothing but negativity in the world and things are just getting worse and worse, and that belief is going to drive what you see and what you experience. But if you believe that there is good in the world and that things are getting better and there are positive stories and there's beauty to be found, you're going to look for those things. And as you look for those things, you're going to find them. So how does that come back to storytelling? Well, when we see what's going on in our world and we experience the negativity, the story that we tell ourselves about the world becomes our narrative for the world. If we tell ourselves positive stories, that becomes the narrative for our world. And that also relates to our personal lives. When we look at ourselves, when we look at our accomplishments, when we compare our accomplishments with the accomplishments of others, when we compare our social media feed with the social media feeds of others, when we try to stack ourselves up that way, we have a tendency to think about our lives, our circumstances in a negative light. And it becomes this story that we tell ourselves. And that's all it is, really. It's just a story. We get to choose what kind of story we're going to tell. We get to choose what kind of story we're going to believe. And this also happens with our families, with our children. Sometimes our daily experience tells us something, and we start to get into this negative cycle of belief about who our children are and what they're capable of. And just to be very honest, we are struggling with that right now as a family. We have 4-year-old twins, and they're very challenging, more challenging than we can remember our other ones being. And I say that more challenging than we can remember. That's a really important distinction, because the memories that we have of our other children are the stories that we've told ourselves about our children's past. So the present experience that we have with our twins is very challenging. They seem to have a lot of difficulty following directions and making good decisions, and end up having consequences a lot of the time, and we're trying to constantly correct them, and it becomes maddening sometimes. But if we're not careful, the story that we're going to tell ourselves over time is, and it's not one that we believe, but the story that will kind of permeate our minds about our children is that, oh, well, they're not very good at making good decisions. They are not good at following directions. There's a difference between saying they are not good at doing those things and saying they're learning how to do those things. And again, very honestly, this is a struggle for us. But I want to encourage you in this, and this is what we are working toward, is when we have those experiences, when we get to the end of our day and look back, how are we framing our experiences? What story are we telling ourselves about what happened, about our children, who they are, who they're capable of becoming? All of those things are very important. And so what we're challenging ourselves to do is to write positive stories, to write stories that lead to hope and growth and connection rather than despair and disconnection. So I hope that wasn't too disjointed. I'm kind of doing this off the cuff, but there's so much power in our ability to tell stories to ourselves about our culture, about our selves, about our children. And when we take hold of that power and we choose to tell ourselves better stories, that's where we get to see more positivity and more life flowing into our awareness. So I hope that was encouraging for you. I'm going to have to play this back and listen to it so that I can hear it, because I need to just as much. Have a great day.